royalties for over a dozen unreleased tracks. Now he was gone. This is not the first time a young gifted voice in hip-hop has been silenced under suspicious circumstances. King Von, another rising Chicago star with raw talent and street credibility, was gunned down in Atlanta in 2020 at the peak of his career. Two explosive artists. Two sudden deaths. Two cases where money, power, and unresolved beef hovered in the background. How does a 29-year-old producer in his prime die with no clear cause? Why was an autopsy report still pending days later? What really happened in the final weeks between Tay Keith and Sexyy Red? And is there a darker pattern in the industry that keeps claiming its brightest stars before they can collect what they're owed? To understand how we got here, we must go back to the streets of Memphis, the studios of Atlanta, and the dangerous intersection of talent, money, and silence. In the dead of night on June 18, 2026, police entered a quiet Nashville apartment and found 29-year-old Tay Keith unresponsive on the floor. The legend producer behind Travis Scott's Sicko Mode, Drake's Non-Stop, and Sexyy Red's Pound Town was dead. Just months earlier, Tay Keith had filed an explosive lawsuit against Sexyy Red's label, Rebel Music, demanding royalties for over a dozen unreleased tracks. Now he was gone. This is not the first time a young gifted voice in hip-hop has been silenced under suspicious circumstances. King Von, another rising Chicago star with raw talent and street credibility, was gunned down in Atlanta in 2020 at the peak of his career. Explosive artist. Two cases where money, power, and unresolved beef hovered in the background. To understand how we got here, we must go back to the streets of Memphis. Tay Keith, born Britavious Chambers, grew up in the heart of Memphis, Tennessee, a city known for its gritty sound, raw energy, and unbreakable hustle. From an early age, music wasn't just a passion for him, it was survival. While other kids played outside, Tay Keith was locked in his room, sampling beats, studying drum patterns, and creating that signature hard-hitting, menacing trap sound that would later define a generation. He didn't come from money. He came from the trenches, where every beat he made was a ticket out. By 2017 to 2018, the industry started noticing. His breakout moment came when he linked up with Block JB on Look Alive, which caught the attention of Drake. That collaboration changed everything. Drake flew him out, and the rest became history. Tay Keith produced Non-Stop for Drake's Scorpion album, a track that dominated charts worldwide. Then came Travis Scott's Sicko Mode. That thunderous beat drop in the third act still gives chills to millions. One beat, one producer, millions of streams. Overnight, Tay Keith went from Memphis underground to global superstar. But success in hip-hop is never simple. Behind the platinum plaques and big checks lies a darker reality: the constant battle for credit, royalties, and respect. Tay Keith was no exception. He poured his soul into beats for artists like Beyoncé, Eminem, 21 Savage, Lil Baby, and many more. Every time a song blew up, his name rang in the credits, yet the real money often stayed hidden in label contracts and back-end deals. Enter Sexyy Red. The St. Louis rapper with that unfiltered ratchet energy exploded onto the scene, and Tay Keith became her secret weapon. Their chemistry was undeniable. He produced Pound Town, a track that became a cultural phenomenon, followed by Get It Sexy, and several other heavy hitters. The duo was unstoppable. Sexyy Red openly called him her brother, her go-to producer. In interviews and social media, she praised him constantly. Tay Keith, he the one, she would say. On the surface, it looked like a perfect creative partnership built on trust and loyalty. But behind closed doors, cracks were forming. According to court documents filed in March 2026, Tay Keith claimed he had produced over 13 tracks for Rebel Music, Sexyy Red's label. These weren't just any tracks, they were potential chart toppers, songs that carried the same DNA as Pound Town. He alleged that the label failed to pay him proper advances, royalties, and production points that had been verbally agreed upon. The lawsuit painted a picture of a young producer being taken advantage of despite delivering hit after hit. Tay Keith wasn't asking for charity. He was demanding what he believed was rightfully his, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars tied up in streaming revenue, sync deals, and publishing. For a self-made artist from Memphis who had already lost friends and family to street violence, this wasn't just business. It was about respect and securing his future. He had plans to build his own empire, to mentor the next generation, to finally own his masters. Then came the silence. After the lawsuit was filed, communication reportedly broke down. Friends close to Tay Keith said he was frustrated but still believed things could be resolved amicably. He continued working, still believed in the culture, still sent beats to artists he respected. But the pressure was building. Being a top producer in hip-hop means living under constant stress, deadlines, expectations, industry politics, and the fear that one wrong move could end your career. Now let's talk about the pattern that makes this story even darker. In 2020, King Von was at the height of his career. His mixtapes were shaking the streets, his storytelling was unmatched, and he had the entire drill scene behind him. Then, in a parking lot outside an Atlanta club, bullets flew. Von was gone at just 26. Official reports called it a street altercation, but the hip-hop community has never stopped asking questions. Who really benefits when a young star with growing influence is removed? The same questions are now being whispered about Tay Keith. Both men came from harsh backgrounds. Both rose fast. Both had unresolved business tensions before their deaths. Both left this world far too early, leaving behind families, fans, and unfinished music. Is this coincidence? Or is there something rotten in the industry that chews up its brightest talents once they start demanding their fair share? As June 18, 2026 approached, Tay Keith was reportedly in good spirits. He had been in the studio recently. Some sources claim he was even working on new music with Sexyy Red again, trying to move past the lawsuit. Then came that fateful welfare check. No signs of forced entry. No obvious trauma. Just a young man in his prime, found lifeless. The Nashville police quickly said no foul play suspected, but they also admitted the autopsy results were still pending. Days turned into weeks, and still no clear cause of death. This lack of transparency only fuels the fire. In an era where information travels instantly, why is the truth moving so slowly? Hip-hop has seen this movie before. Young artists die, investigations stall, and the world moves on until the next tragedy. But this time feels different. Tay Keith wasn't on the streets like Von. He was in a professional environment. He was building, not destroying. The emotional weight here is crushing. Imagine pouring your entire life into your craft, finally tasting real success, only to have it snatched away right when you start protecting your legacy. Tay Keith's mother and family have remained mostly private, but those close to them say the pain is unimaginable. Meanwhile, tributes poured in from Drake, Sexyy Red, Key Glock, Juicy J, and many others. Sexyy Red posted an emotional message, "Blood in, blood out. I love you, brudda. Still the best duo. 5 life." Those words hit hard. They sound genuine. But in the court of public opinion, they also raise suspicion. How do you go from lawsuit to blood in, blood out in just a few months? Was this a real friendship torn apart by label greed? Or was there something much deeper? As we dig deeper into this story, the layers keep unfolding. The music industry is a machine, a billion-dollar machine that runs on talent, ego, and silence. Producers like Tay Keith are the invisible backbone. They create the sound, but rarely control the money. When they speak up, consequences can be swift and brutal. What exactly happened in those final weeks? What did Tay Keith know that made him a threat? And how does King Von's ghost still haunt these new tragedies? Let's examine the lawsuit that changed everything. In March 2026, Tay Keith filed legal documents that sent shockwaves through the industry. He claimed Rebel Music owed him substantial unpaid advances, production royalties, and publishing percentages for 13 completed tracks. These weren't filler songs. Several were already gaining serious streaming traction and had the potential to become major commercial successes, much like Pound Town, which had exploded into a viral sensation and put Sexyy Red on a completely different level. Court filings revealed tense email exchanges and verbal agreements that were allegedly ignored once the numbers got big. Tay Keith wasn't some bitter outsider. He was the architect of the sound that built the label's current momentum. For a producer who had spent years grinding in Memphis studios with limited resources, this felt like the ultimate betrayal. Friends say he grew increasingly vocal about ownership and fair compensation. In hip-hop, that conversation has always been dangerous. Sexyy Red, born Aaliyah Ba, built her brand on raw authenticity and unapologetic energy. Her rapid rise from viral moments to chart dominance was impressive, and Tay Keith played a central role in that ascent. Publicly, their relationship appeared rock solid. She shouted him out in interviews, posted studio sessions, and repeatedly called him family. Blood in, blood out, she would say. Yet behind the glamorous posts, the business side had grown complicated. The label positioned itself as an independent powerhouse, but insiders whisper about aggressive contracts and delayed payments that affected not just Tay Keith but several other creatives. As the lawsuit progressed, the tension reportedly affected their working dynamic. Some sources close to the situation claim Tay Keith had begun pulling back from new sessions while still hoping for an out-of-court resolution. He wanted to keep creating, but he also wanted to protect his legacy and future earnings. This internal conflict, the love for music versus the harsh reality of the business, mirrors what many artists face, but for someone as talented as Tay Keith, the stakes felt existential. Now we arrive at the tragic night of June 18, 2026. According to Nashville Metro Police, a welfare check was conducted at Tay Keith's apartment after concerns from friends and family who hadn't heard from him. Officers entered and discovered his body. No obvious signs of struggle. No forced entry. No immediate evidence of suicide or overdose visible to first responders. The initial statement was careful, no foul play suspected at this time. But the absence of a clear cause only deepened the mystery. In the hours and days that followed, the hip-hop world reacted with shock and grief. Drake posted a simple tribute with heart emojis. Key Glock, a fellow Memphis artist, shared memories of their early days. Juicy J, a legend from the city, expressed disbelief. But it was Sexyy Red's message that captured the most attention. Blood in, blood out, we brothers but not related. I love you brother at Tay Keith still da best duo US5 life. The emotional weight of those words was undeniable. Yet in the court of public opinion, they also sparked suspicion. How does one go from legal warfare to such deep familial language in a matter of months? This contradiction sits at the heart of the controversy. Was the lawsuit simply business that both sides were trying to resolve privately? Or had the relationship soured to a point where trust was completely broken? Some online investigators point to the timing. Lawsuit filed, communication strained, then sudden death. Others argue it's unfair to speculate. But the pattern refuses to be ignored. Compare this once again to King Von. In November 2020, Von was outside a hookah lounge in Atlanta when a confrontation escalated into gunfire. He was pronounced dead at just 26 years old. Like Tay Keith, Von had been rising rapidly. His music was raw, his storytelling captured the streets, and he had major label interest. His death was officially ruled a result of a street altercation involving rival groups, but many in the community still question whether deeper industry forces or unresolved personal beefs played a role. Both deaths involved young black men at the peak of their creative powers. Both had financial matters unresolved. Both left behind questions that official statements failed to fully answer. The music industry has a long and painful history with this. From Tupac and Biggie in the 90s to more recent losses like Juice WRLD, Mac Miller, and XXXTentacion, the line between personal struggles, street life, and industry pressure often blurs. Producers rarely make headlines the way rappers do, yet they are the foundation. When they start demanding proper credit and payment, they sometimes become inconvenient. As days passed after Tay Keith's death, the silence from certain key players became noticeable. Rebel Music issued a brief statement expressing condolences, but avoided addressing the ongoing lawsuit. Autopsy results, which normally take weeks but are often expedited in high-profile cases, remained pending. This delay fueled online conspiracy theories ranging from overdose to foul play involving powerful connections. While many of these theories lack evidence, the lack of transparent information has kept speculation alive. Tay Keith's final studio sessions reportedly included new beats that friends described as some of his strongest work. He was excited about the future, mentoring young producers, possibly starting his own label, and securing financial freedom for his family. That future was stolen in an instant. The emotional toll on those closest to him is profound. His mother lost a son who had beaten the odds. The Memphis music community lost one of its brightest stars. And fans lost the sound that defined a new era of trap music. What makes this story particularly haunting is the contrast between public celebration and private suspicion. On one hand, we see heartfelt tributes and memories of a generous, talented man. On the other, we see a young producer who dared to stand up for his rights and paid the ultimate price, or so the whispers suggest. Is this merely tragedy striking again, or is there a systemic issue where talent is celebrated until it becomes too expensive or too demanding? The parallels with King Von grow stronger the deeper we look. Both men represented authenticity in an industry that often rewards performance over substance. Both had the charisma and skill to transcend their beginnings. Both had their lives cut short before they could fully realize their empires. Von's death strengthened the drill movement in his absence. Will Tay Keith's death do the same for Memphis producers, or will it serve as another cautionary tale about speaking up? As we continue examining the final pieces of this puzzle, the picture becomes even more complex. The role of management, the influence of larger industry players, and the question of whether justice can truly be served when money and power are involved, these elements demand closer inspection. The story does not end with grief. It evolves into something far more uncomfortable, a mirror held up to an industry that claims to uplift its artists while quietly discarding them when they become problematic. The story does not end with grief. It evolves into something far more uncomfortable, a mirror held up to an industry that claims to uplift its artists while quietly discarding them when they become problematic. As the days turn into weeks since June 18, 2026, the absence of clear answers continues to haunt the hip-hop community. Tay Keith's death remains officially unexplained. The autopsy report, which many expected within days of such a high-profile case, is still pending. This delay is not just bureaucratic, it feels strategic. In an industry where information is power, silence often protects the powerful. Meanwhile, the same questions that followed King Von's tragic shooting in Atlanta in 2020 are being asked again with even more urgency. King Von was only 26 when he was gunned down outside a hookah lounge. His death was quickly labeled a street altercation, yet the timing, the unresolved tensions in his own career, and the way certain narratives were pushed left many unsatisfied. Von was becoming too influential, too independent, and too vocal. His storytelling exposed realities that some preferred to keep buried. Now with Tay Keith, we see a similar blueprint, a young creator at the peak of his powers, entangled in financial disputes, suddenly removed from the game. Two different cities. Two different circumstances. Same devastating outcome. What connects these cases is bigger than any single artist or producer. It's the toxic ecosystem of the modern music industry. Producers like Tay Keith are the invisible architects. They create the sound that generates hundreds of millions in revenue, yet they often exist at the mercy of labels, managers, and streaming algorithms. When they dare to demand transparency, proper publishing splits, back-end points, or ownership of their work, they risk becoming liabilities. Tay Keith's lawsuit against Rebel Music was not an attack. It was a cry for fairness in a system designed to keep creatives broke while executives grow rich. Sexyy Red's public tribute, while emotional, has only intensified the speculation. Blood in, blood out. Still the best duo. 5 Life. These words carry weight. They suggest a bond that went beyond business. But the lawsuit tells a different story, one of broken promises and withheld payments. This contradiction forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. In hip-hop, personal relationships and professional greed often collide violently. Was the lawsuit a simple misunderstanding that both parties were working to resolve? Or had it escalated into something far more dangerous? Did Tay Keith know details about label finances, unreleased music, or hidden deals that made him a threat? The pattern is painful but consistent. Look at the long list of young talents lost too soon: Tupac, Biggie, Jam Master Jay, Nipsey Hussle, Pop Smoke, King Von, and now Tay Keith. Some deaths were clearly street-related. Others remain shrouded in mystery. What they all share is the way the industry profits from their lives and moves on quickly from their deaths. Memorial posts get millions of likes. Playlists are updated. Streams increase. But real accountability? That rarely comes. Tay Keith's story hits especially hard because he represented the dream many chase. A kid from Memphis projects who taught himself music production, linked with Drake, changed the sound of global trap, and still stayed grounded. He wanted to build, not just survive. He spoke about mentoring young producers and creating opportunities for the next generation from the South. That vision died with him on that apartment floor. His family now faces